Hello again. I'm Coach Lance Meyer here in the Green Room Art Studio and Grass Ministries, and we are again taking that my wife's hibiscus plant, a little 4x6, and now we are making progress here. We could even stop right there. We could. You actually have a pretty good painting, but we are going to take it up that next notch. And to be honest, this is the sometimes for me the most challenging part because you really do need to make some decisions on creating some of those values, and you need to have a little more control. And I really kind of like to have a very loose painting, and so sometimes my concentration. This is where I'm challenged a little bit, but we will get when you do this right, you really are able to take your paintings up another level. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be working especially right now on the hibiscus itself. And I think for this one, what I'm going to do is actually move my camera so you can see right on top of the flower. It'll be a little bit easier, so bear with me with that. Excuse my hand here. Okay, yeah, there you can see that. I think that'll be helpful because we'll be working a little bit more on some specific details. So, all right. I have again this Princeton kind of specialty brush, the dagger. Now, you do not have to have a dagger to make this work, but it is a nice little option. You can pick this up, I believe, at Hobby Lobby. I think I got this at the Artist Guild up in Sturgeon Bay, but I have seen these around as well. Now, one of the decisions I have to make here, if you look on my kind of original painting, I have this is a little bit more of a pink, kind of that, I guess, pink and red, maybe a little violet in there. Whereas this one that I've created has really those nice yellows. And this is where you're at the point in your painting when you want the painting to dictate more of your decisions than the like original photo or the original piece of work or the whatever your reference is. Or if you're working outside, or working, if you're actually looking at the plant while you're painting, which as it warms up here, we'll start doing. But in this case, I really want to, if you look through here, one of the best parts, and this is why I wanted to get the camera a little closer for you here too, so you can really see this, is some of the best parts of this painting already are these beautiful little, see how you get these really nice mixes in here? And fortunately, I did add that little dark here because we are going to want some darks along here, and we got to touch up maybe a couple of these edges a little bit. But we want to enhance what we already have and not, the temptation would be, well, that's not quite the right color, so let's just come back over the top of everything. What I want to actually do, so if you can see this a little bit, my pencil line is here, but if you look on how the paper kind of worked, I almost got a better edge for a little flower there. So I'm going to try to just enhance that a little bit with what we're doing here. So my colors may not be, I may not end up with it's just the same color over here, and that's all good. But that's a decision you kind of have to make, and it does depend a little bit on, what your goal is. If I really want this color, if that specific shade and all that is important, then I will have to, you know, get rid of some of these, lines or whatever that are kind of natural. The more you can naturally create things, that's why I really like to work with those early on. We call them happy accidents, and we're going to try to look for all those as possible. Okay, so got my brush again, going to wet the brush. If you haven't already squirted your palette, I'll re-squirt just to get those. We call this activating your colors. Again, I'm using professional, mostly um, Daniel Smith paints. There are some Master's Touch, I believe it is, paints in there as well for a few of the colors. And I do have a couple other, but they're all professional quality, I should say. But you can still do with just your Dollar Tree, um, watercolor set or Hobby Lobby, the little pads of watercolors, even Five Below. You can still do some amazing things, even with those watercolors. And then I'm using 100% cotton paper. That does allow for, these kind of little edges, and you get some really, the cotton paper holds the water, and it just creates more of these kind of natural edges a little bit. But any kind of watercolor paper, you will be able to get some of these, you'll still be able to paint a nice painting here. All right, enough talking. Let's paint. I am going to grab some of my, um, like a permanent rose. Or a Quinn rose, I guess, is another one that's a really bright. So I am grabbing almost a really kind of brighter pink here. I do at this point like to add either a yellow, or in this case I'm going to add just a little blue because we're starting to add those value. Again, I just grab a little bit of the manganese just so it's not just the same exact color out of the tube. I always find that mixing colors a little bit is a, so just dapping a little bit of blue in there to create a little bit of a nice almost violety color. Now I'm going to start maybe toward the bottom over here. I want to keep these kind of little sunlighty and it just kind of reforming. So we need an edge to this particular petal. So I'm just going to kind of pull this way. And then what I want to do is on these edges, just touch those up a little bit in some areas so they're a little more pointy. I could wet the paper, but I think in this case I'm not going to. We're going to be working more on a dry, with the drier brush. Now that does present the problem of very hard, harder edges. Although one little technique again is to, you do your edge and then just kind of pull that in with a little water like that. Okay, so it's not quite as hard to edge. I do like the fact we've got these little, just going to kind of put a little color up in there. The more I can utilize what's there, the better. So I've got kind of some sun hitting here. I've got some nice edges. I'm creating a nice hard edge between the green and the red here. And I like that a lot. And then I'm just going to even hit this edge over here. There's almost maybe a little shadow right up in here, so that's maybe a little dark. I can dap that, but maybe not though. That's okay. Now, there we go. Boom. So you see that? Now I've kind of, again, you've got these kind of 3 layers of color. I've got a nice little dark right there. Maybe this down over here is a little darker. And there you go. I know that I'm going to need to hit this pretty dark. So I've got it on my palette right now. Yeah, there we go. On my brush, I should say. So there's a little shadow between that one, the edge of that and here. And I'm just going to kind of pull that up into here. I want a nice dark in the middle of this plant, and then these little yellow, I'm going to keep these little yellow, almost like they're little, pieces coming off of there, because we're creating that up to here anyway. So we're going to end up with kind of a little line coming through here, but if that makes sense. I'm going to create a little bit dark right there. So all I'm doing is trying to enhance these edges that they're already there. If you notice that, they're already there. And I'm just enhancing them with these reds and a little bit of blue on my brush. There we got, see how you've got that little edge right there. We're creating this nice leaf edges, and then I'll just water and pull that into the yellow without really, I want to keep that yellow as much as I can. There we go. There we go. That's it. This is absolutely, you're creating a hard edge here and then a subtle edge right there, and you're keeping this, what's natural right there. That is a really nice little leaf right there. I'm going to just hit some hot pink or the brightest red, rosy red. I just, yeah, maybe this little right there, up in there, and then a little edge right up there. There you go. I don't want to overdo it, but I feel like that just there. Now you got that edge, and then I'll do the same thing, maybe a little bit down here. A little darker and pull that in there. Okay. We're just getting some really nice, that leaf is just spectacular. And this one's okay. The only thing on this one is a little more, the edges in here could be a little softer. A little technique you can use for that is just to take your spray bottle and spray that little edge just a little bit. See how that did? Create a little light and a little less of a forced edge. I feel like this one right here, yeah, we've got a little sun hitting it here. It's going to be pretty dark in there. This one I'm going to be a little more, I'm going to actually grab a little more of my color, a little more pigment. And yeah, here we got to make a decision. I think it's going to be, I think what we got to do is go light here and dark. So this side will be lighter than that one, and then this side over here, I'm going to make this side darker, if that makes sense. So I'm going to get rid of these yellows. This will be dark. This will kind of almost be non-distinct up in there, and then you'll have a hard edge here and a dark hard edge right there, and we'll kind of see what we can pull back together here. I kind of do like the way the sun's hitting that, so I got to be a little careful here, but the temptation would be to just paint that whole thing one color. We don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to grab, I said I'm going to get rid of that yellow. I'm actually going to keep just a little bit of it and just kind of pretend the leaf, yeah, right there. We'll see. I might end up painting over that, but I need a hard or dark edge to set off that other, this leaf over here. So I've got my nice darks, and then we're going to just kind of pull that down a little bit more. I'll make a non-distinct edge there, so those are pretty similar, but I need a hard edge right there. This is probably one of the more difficult. Okay, now that light right there probably isn't there, so I'm going to just hit that dark up at least, maybe a little yellow there, but up here I think it's going to be darker, so I'm just going to pull that back out of there. This is where having this brush is. You can create these little edges a little easier. But now we don't want a hard edge here, but I want to keep that yellow as much as I can. And then, okay, about to there, because you could have a little shadow there and then it would be light above that. Now, we don't want quite that hard edge. So we got two choices. I can either, this is pretty light, but I like the way that's hitting. I think, okay, couple things. You can see I'm deciding as I'm painting here, but I think it's actually a little bit too light. We don't want this just hard edge right there. So we could, again, I could spritz it. I could water my brush. Let's just start with watering the brush so you can just at least see that. I just kind of pull that into the rest of it a little bit. Now, here's what I'm trying to keep, is I'm trying to keep this little light yellow right there. Now, I think what I can do, here's what I'm going to try to do, is hit with like the purish pinkish, little more this edge right here and maybe a little bit to there, and keep the rest of it. So the edge of the plant, of the petal, is got a little bit more distinction to it. It's a really tricky thing here because I want to keep those colors right there. There we go. Okay. Yeah, sun's coming in there. I can still dap just a little bit. I'm going to dap this. I kind of got a little bit of a purplish color I don't like there. Okay. Now, that is pretty good. We got the dark highlight here, maybe a little bit on the edge. I'm going to do that edge just a little bit more with a little bit pure color. Now, especially it's wet. Now this color will move a little better. What I'm trying to do is create a really nice hard edge here next to the green so that hits. The highlight here is pretty, it's, in this case, very, it's a strong, what I might be able to do, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that. I can maybe decide to change it later. We got a nice highlight there, nice highlight there. On this one here, we could leave it. I think we want it lighter than this one. It actually is, yeah, we want a dark right in there. I'm just looking at that. Yeah, which we've got this little purple and stuff in there. This could even be a little curled. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to curl this little leaf right there. So what I'm going to do there is grab my red. I happen to have some alizarin crimson, which is a little bit cooler red. But all you got to do is get your red and just grab a little bit of green. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I probably grabbed too much. That's okay. There's an art to the art here. But I'm trying to get a pretty deep, dark. You could do this with blue too, but green and red are your complements. I'd almost, yeah, there we go. We got a nice, okay. Now, what I'm going to do is put that right there, like this leaf is kind of going over the edge a little bit. Right there, and then I'll just kind of leave it right there. I guess I'm trying to create like a, almost like a dead portion of the leaf. I'm going to throw a little bit of that dark right up in there. There we go. Ooh, I like that. So, and I'm just going to bring it all the way. There might be just a little shadow right there, and I'll pull that up into this one. And then now I need to get most of that color off my brush and mostly water. And we're just, yeah, this is not a beautiful color, so I don't want to use too much of it. But there we go. We've created that edge, and I'll just bring it down right there. That is good. Okay, you see what I've done here? We've created hard edges, hard edge, and then a bunch of little soft things going on here. I have to decide if I'm going to do anything. This is all kind of one color, but it's not bad. I think I'm going to come back to that one once this dries. And then we need to redden this up just a little bit more. This is where it almost would be better to just add a little water right there so that the colors, yeah, there we're getting that run. But I don't want this, I want a, kind of a purplish, yucky color, for lack of a better word here. But I want this color, this I want to be pretty, right? So, yeah, there we go. And a good happy accident right there. Boom. I'm just, see how putting water on that first allows the color to just kind of, that's what I want. And then I'm going to really hit that edge right there. There we go. Now we got it. And then it would probably, now what I can do is with this brush on the dry is actually create this edge. So I've got this red right there. Boom, we're just going to kind of bring this down right to there. I got to be cognizant of where I'm bringing, because I'm going to have a little, yeah, the little stem, I need to bring that down just a little bit more. Okay, right there. And I still got too much of my blue and yucky color in my brush, so I'm going to, one more time, hit my brightest pinkish red. And I'm just going to, while it's wet there, I'm going to hit that line just a little bit more and still keeping this yellow on there. Yeah, this is really coming together nicely. And now what I'm going to do is, as long as I've got it right here, I'm just going to start bringing up a couple of these little stems. Boom, right there, one right there, one right there. I'm always kind of 1, 2, I'm going to do 3, 1, 2, 3. That's probably good for right now. Just these little guys I can build something off of. So there you go. And then I will have to decide these could be, you are going to have something coming out of here. So I did create an edge that's a little higher than maybe I wanted, but I'm just going to take a flick through here and kind of see what ends up happening if I do that once. Yeah, it doesn't really create it. So I'm going to have to come back when that's dry. Let's go to this one over here. And again, I like here we've got these nice pinky colors, relatively light, maybe a little, well, actually the sun could be hitting that and the dark could be kind of going away here. So I'm just going to grab this little edge right there. Yeah, and I'm getting a little bit of too much blue on my brush because I want to keep those. There we go. There we go. Creating my edges. Yep, and then right like that. Bring that back into here. Kind of create these little edges with more pinky colors. Boom, right there, and the same thing over there. Kind of herky-jerky motions. Got a distinct, I'm going to kind of create that line right there. Okay, now again, the only thing I don't like, hit this here. Yeah, that's nice. Gonna have a little color in there. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of gently bring this way. We want non-distinct lines. We got a highlight there. This is the spot I would take my little spray bottle and create that little softer edge. Hard edge, soft edge. I want a hard edge right here. That point I want. May end up coming back into that with a little dark, but yeah, you create a highlight there, a little darker as it's going away from the sun. I did have a little better line. Here's where I could later come back and re-green to create, because I had a nice little line in there that ended up kind of fading out a little bit. You notice I'm trying to create these little edges all the way through. That just creates interest. And that leaves us, yep. So we want a darker there.